How you guys doing? This is Rich coming back at you with another lens review. Today we're looking at the Micro Nikkor 55mm F3.5. So this is a super awesome macro or micro lens that I picked up. Well, I didn't pick it up. My friend sent it to me, and therefore I picked it up out of the box he sent me. So thanks so much to my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for sending me this lens. You are a rock star. Anyways, I got this lens. I did have a disassembly or servicing video on this lens on my channel, so go ahead and check that out. I believe it's only 4 elements. It was made in Japan, and it is a super cool lens. It has the F mount from Nikon. So this is the one we're going over today. Before we get started, I just want to say that I am using a, let me double check, SMC Pentax 3.5 on the camera right now. On my A7R2. All the photos were shot on a full frame A7R2 as well for this review. I also use this adapter from Footsie, so if you guys want me to link it below for Amazon, I did pick it up from Amazon. It is a F mount adapter to the E mount, or the Nikon mount to the Sony E mount. All right. So before we get started, I just want to thank God for the ability to take these amazing photos. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to take any of these amazing photos or do any of the things that we love to do. So thank God for that. All right, so we have the 4 categories. We have affordability, we have accessibility, the build quality, and the versatility of this lens right here. So let's get right into it. So first off, let's talk about the affordability. So there's a lot of value in this lens, which kind of complicates the affordability. It is easily serviceable. It has a pretty universal lens mount, or a pretty common lens mount, which is the Nikon. It also has a macro mode, and it goes up to f32, which is huge things that are huge values on lenses, and it has a lens coating, so that's super cool too. At least I believe, because I didn't get a lot of flaring. I didn't do that much research on this lens, forgive me, but it seemed to be doing a great job in the sunlight. So with all those being said, the lens being, you know, the cheapest I found one was about 20 bucks, and that's a starting bid. That's not necessarily, you know, anything else. And then it goes to like 45 and up. And, you know, nothing like $100 or anything like that, but 45 and up. So for that, I gave it an 8. Usually I wouldn't rate something an 8 unless it was like an extremely good value. But this one's definitely an 8 for the value, because you can get it really, even a little bit more than an 8. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this lens. So that one's an 8 for the affordability. Not crazy, but is extremely valuable. All right, so next let's talk about the accessibility. When you pick this up, can you pick this up as a beginner with manual photography and start using it? Absolutely. The great thing is it starts at 3.5, so a lot of stuff is going to be pretty focused. The bokeh is really good, which is really awesome. And then you also have the macro mode, which it goes, it can focus up to 9.5 inches or 0.241 feet, or how us Americans like to say, that's about 3 hamburgers. So about 3 hamburgers away on the focusing distance, which is super good. So also with the adapter, the only drawback is if you are not using a Nikon. So this is if it is on the Nikon camera. Once I hook up this adapter, you can kind of see where we go into crazy territory. It's not too bad, but then, oh man, it's getting pretty crazy. So that's almost like a telephoto lens right there. So that does negate some of the accessibility, having that thick old bad boy on the front of your camera, but it's not too terrible. The lens is actually incredibly light, which lends to a lot of the ease of use of this lens. So it's an 8 for me for the accessibility. You can still do a ton with it. The micro makes it super easy. Sticking on 3.5 and running and gunning, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Focus throw is super easy, so that's an 8 for me. All right, build quality is going to be a 9. Like I said, there's a ton of value in this lens. Extremely easy to service the lens. On top of that, minimal tools needed, which throws it up there, because that's a huge thing that I really think about when I'm talking about the build quality of the lens. Is like, how serviceable is this lens? There's no oil on the aperture blades. Even if there was, I could take it apart and easily disassemble it and put it back together. Not hard at all. There wasn't a lot of dust inside the lens. There wasn't any fungus, so it is great when it comes to that. It is not dust proof, moisture proof, or waterproof, but it has a metal lens bayonet. The metal that it's made of is probably a magnesium or aluminum kind of alloy, and it does a fantastic job. All the rubber bits are really good, everything's solid, so I would say it's an exceptional build quality, and I would give that a 9, just because of everything that you could do with it, which is super nice. Now let's talk about the versatility of this lens. This is probably one of the more versatile lenses. It is a 55mm, but you had the added fact that it is a macro lens. So that kind of kicks it up into the 9 range for the rating, because if you have that added little value, telephoto lenses are usually in this range, but the fact that it is a 55, which is extremely versatile, that's an 80 on crop sensor, 110 on a micro four thirds. It's great with portraits, great with landscapes, great with cityscapes, not great with architecture and not great with nature, but you do have the macro function. So that makes it a 9 to me, because it is quite versatile, has a wide breadth, and that again adds to the value of this lens. All right, with all that said and done, we are looking at a high 8 for the total. So yeah, we are looking at an 8.5, so 8 or 8.5 out of 10. Would I recommend? Absolutely, I would recommend this lens. So there's 3 different mounts you could really get into if you want really inexpensive, really widely available manual focus lenses, and that's the M42 mount, the K mount, and the F mount. So that is a huge value to pick one of these up. If you were getting into some of the other mounts like Canon or the Minolta mounts, I would kind of be wary, because they do change over time, where this F mount, you can get a modern Nikon lens, or if you decide you want to get Nikon camera bodies, all of your Nikon lenses are going to work for it. So if that's something that you happen to get a camera from somebody, but you don't know if you necessarily like that camera system, get the adapter for the Nikons. Then get some Nikon lenses. Worst case scenario, you sell them all as a set, and you're good to go anyways. I think it's a fantastic starting point. I think the fact that it has micro, because going into nature photography does take a lot of skill, especially if you're going into manual lenses and you want to do nature. Nature photography takes a lot of skill, especially if you're going to use manual lenses to get into nature photography. I think that is probably one of the hardest things to leap into, the highest learning curve, if you're going into manual lenses. But doing macro with a manual lens is not a huge learning curve, and having a 55 that can do pretty much everything, every type of photography, is a fantastic screaming deal on any of those different sensor sizes. So I highly recommend it. Now, if you are a semi-pro or professional photographer, this again is a fantastic lens. What you get with, oh no. What you get with this lens is a really cool color renditioning. So for me, the colors aren't as contrasty or poppy as you get with a lot of the K-mount lenses or the M42 Super Tachymoor lenses. This was a lot of more like modern lenses that I see. A lot of the modern glass that I have looks a lot like this, which is kind of crazy to think that you would get it on a vintage lens. But I really like that aspect of it, especially with some of this macro photography. It looks stunning. So it is probably the most modern looking vintage lens that I have. So if that is something that you want to have, because you just, like I said, a lot of times is have that more visceral feel of the vintage photography or manual photography, this is going to be the ticket. I can't imagine what it'll look like if you give it more filmic view. You're going to get a lot of that film noir. I think black and white is where this is going to shine immaculately, or like I said, in macro, or in those moods where you want to just get more of a darker, gritty mood. I know I took the 35 out DA lens when I was doing a rainy street shoot. I think I would have much preferred this lens. I think this lens would have killed it in that kind of environment and kind of mood. So night photography is probably, I'm gonna go for this lens anytime I do night shoots, because I just like the way it looks. All right, well, that's all for that. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I really love comments. I can't tell you how much fun I have communicating with you guys. Again, always drop your social medias, our Flickrs, Twitters, Instagrams, in the comments so we can take a look at, or even YouTube's. We want to take a look at what kind of content you guys are making. what kind of pictures you take with similar equipment, what kind of tips you guys have, because we just love hearing. I love hearing it, and I love having those conversations with you guys. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys watching this video. All right, I hope that helps. Other than that, God bless. I'll see you guys later. Thanks.